All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create our first track. So if you're new to Studio One, you haven't even gotten to this point yet. So hopefully you have watched the previous videos so that we can just go ahead and get into this here. So if you haven't, please review the first videos. Should be in order in the YouTube playlist. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new song. There we go. And if you look here, we've got a couple of options. I got a template that I created for myself. It just has some things that are set up the way I like them, and I will show you that in a different video. So I'm going to select my template and I'm going to click OK. So now here we are in this view, and in order to get this thing going, what we're going to do is we are going to open up the camera so that you can see my interface, and then we're going to get the steps on what we're actually going to do here. So we're going to create a track, we're going to arm it, we're going to check the mute and solo and the tempo, and I'm also going to show you how to set up your input a little bit with a little bit of adjustment and things like that. So we're going to test with an acoustic guitar. So there are a couple of ways, actually there are many ways to create a track. The easiest one that you should get familiar with is the plus sign right here at the top of the track list, and we're going to click on that and it opens up this. And if you were here for an earlier video, we definitely don't want to start with a yellow track. That ended up being very bright and very annoying. So there we go. So we're going to click on one audio track. We're going to be using a single microphone. So we actually want a mono track. And the count is 1 audio. And then let's name this guitar. And we're not going to use any presets, but we are going to actually be using input number 2. Now, this can be changed even after the track is created, but I wanted to show you that you could select it here, and boom, there we go. Here's our track. We're just going to open this up just a little bit so we can see all of our choices here. So if you look here, this is input number 2, and of course, if you were here for the earlier videos, I created other mono tracks to actually set up and be ready for recording, but we're going to pick number 2. There we go. There's number 2. Okay, so here is mute and solo. And here is the mixer view right here, and you can actually access the mixer view by doing this. You don't have to have this open, but I like it because of the input meter here once I arm the track. There's also an input independent meter that I'm going to show you here in a minute. So we have the track. Everything that records in Studio One is linear recording, from left to right, and you will see the waveform be created as you are recording. So it's a really good gauge as to your volume levels and things like that. Okay, so we've created our track, and now we're going to arm our track. There you go. You can see that the microphone in my room is already picking up my voice here in the room. If I go down here into this area, there is an extra input option right here. Boom, there we go, and you can see the inputs that I'm using. This one is being used for my voice, and this one is going to be used for the guitar. So usually the best input level, it is a big debate, and a lot of people agree and disagree on this. I usually try to keep it obviously below 0 dB. We don't want to clip, and a little red light will actually show up when it clips. But I usually keep it around the 12 mark right here, in between 0 and 12. I like a nice hot signal, and of course with digital you don't have to do that. But I like a nice hot signal for that. So let's see where we're at. I've got my acoustic guitar here. I'm going to sit in front of the mic and just keep an eye on this level here. And you can also keep an eye on this level right here. I think that's perfect, actually. So if I wanted to make an adjustment, if you are using an interface like mine that has the knobs in front, take a look at the little view of the picture right there of my interface. You would actually make that adjustment here. And you would turn it up or down depending on the level that you want on the input. We can also move this over a little bit if you don't want all that view and just be able to view the channel itself and the input gain right there. So let's go ahead and make our first track. So you can choose to start here. You can choose to start here. You can choose to start anywhere you want and just start recording. So if I started here and I hit record, there you go. Boom, it's already starting to record a track. And of course, you would use Control Z to undo that if you wanted to do that. But if you actually are going to start recording from a song, I usually go ahead and go to the beginning and I turn on my click track, which is right here. This is the metronome track. If I click on this, you can see it turns blue. We're going to go into the settings for the metronome. I happen to have my metronome set up with a tambourine. Just like that, and I usually let it go a measure or two before I actually start recording. So let's go ahead and record our first track. Here we go. I am going to hit record, and I'm just going to go 8 clicks before I start recording. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. And to stop really quick, I use the space bar on my keyboard. So let's see what we have. Now, you can see that the waveform went a little bit off screen. So there's a couple of things that you can do to adjust this. My favorite way is to just grab one of these numbers here in the timeline. I'm going to grab the 3 and pull up. There we go. That gives me the ability to actually shrink it so that I can see the whole waveform. And the reason why I point out grabbing the numbers, to me, it's a good reference. If I want to zoom in on this area here, I'm going to grab the number 6 and pull down. And you can see that you stay in view, zooming or zooming in or zooming out based on where you grab it. And I can go left and right and stuff and really kind of get my view. And now there are keyboard shortcuts that you can do this with. There is also the option here that you can do this with. If you place the cursor over the spot you want to zoom in and then use the bar down here, it will stay focused on that spot right there. So you do have a couple of options. Now there are more, and I will be showing those in different videos. So now let's say you've actually recorded it. Let's listen to it. Okay, we definitely don't need the click, so let's go back down here and turn the click off. The click can also be turned on and off here in the main channel right here. So if it is on here, you can turn it off here. A little hint on the click, it is always a good idea to keep it on here in the transport and use the main out channel to turn it on and off. And you also have a volume control for that. And like I said, there'll be another video specifically for the click and changing sounds and things like that. But there's a little hint there to really get you going. Okay, so we have turned the click off, and now we're going to listen to our guitar part. And your first thing might be, well, how come there's no level showing up in here? Well, the reason is because we still have the track armed. So I'm going to click on the red record button, and now the meter turns into a playback meter. And you can see I held just a little bit above -12 right here, so I've got a really good level on what I actually want to hear and see. So if you want to see more of the actual waveform without affecting the volume, you can go down here to this little guy right here. It's hard to see if you hold your mouse over it. It says data zoom. If I grab this and I turn this up a little bit, there you go. I can actually really see some detail. Now this will affect all tracks that are in the event view. So just be careful as to how hot you make this, because then you might not see any dynamics. So I'm just going to adjust this kind of right there. And remember, this adjustment does not change any of the volumes. It is strictly for the view. Again, it is called the data zoom. So it really gives you a good representation of everything that was recorded. You can see it recorded a little bit of the click because I had some of the speakers on and some of the noise of me actually getting to the microphone. But that's okay, man. I don't care about that. So let's go ahead. Okay, that's a pretty good volume level. Now remember, as you build more tracks, you are going to increase the output of all of your tracks by small amounts as you build, like maybe 5, 10, 15, 20, and you will see the main out actually increase a little bit in volume, and it's going to be slight. You would need maybe 25 tracks to really see a difference, unless, of course, you're doing a lot of percussion. So in that event, what you would actually do is you would use the fader here to make an adjustment. Now, one of the biggest misnomers when it comes to this adjustment here, if you are recording, some people feel if I touch this, I'm going to lower my record volume. That is incorrect. So you can gauge how much of the sound that you're recording by adjusting this without affecting the actual input. The actual input volume is affected over here by the input knob on your interface. This determines the amount of signal going to the track and is unaffected by this. So if you're recording several people at once, some people feel that you can't move this in order to have the mix coming through the headphones audible for everybody. But that is incorrect. You can adjust these at any time, even if you don't want to hear anything coming back from Studio One, you can actually turn this all the way off, do your recording, and turn it back up when you need to. So just remember that the actual channel fader does not affect recording volume going to track. That is done by the knob on your interface. Okay, so now that we're past that, we have a nice track recorded here. There we go, and I can go ahead here, and I'm going to disarm this track so that we're just on playback, and we have a playback meter. I'm going to click the plus sign again, and I am going to make another track. I just want one. I'm going to call this Guitar 2. I'm just going to make like a little rhythm track. I'm going to click OK. There we go. We have another one right there. Perfect. And we actually want now. We didn't actually choose the right input. We're actually going to come from input 2 again right there. And I'm going to arm it just like that. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so that is actually A, G, and D, I believe. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the top. I'm going to double click the stop. And now what I'm going to do, I've got it armed. And I'm going to turn the click back on here. Remember, if you turn this on, but this is off, you're not going to hear the click. So this should be on all the time so you can regulate everything from here. So let's see here. All right, one more track. All right, I'm just going to do that. Here we go. So let's see. I'm going to click record. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Oh, nice. That actually came out pretty decent. All right, so let's look at this here. Beautiful. Okay, so now just to kind of go through a couple of things lightly, I don't want to make this video too long. You have the ability to adjust the volumes and adjust the pan position. So this is, even though they're mono tracks, you can put the mono tracks anywhere you want in the stereo field, left and right. Because remember that the main out is a stereo output. So now if I pan one left and I pan one right, we get this. And there you have it. So this is just a very quick Quick and dirty example of laying tracks. Now, there is no track limit in Studio One, and you can do this for as many things as you have to overdub. You have a guitar 2, maybe a guitar solo, and then a vocal and another guitar. You invite a friend over and you want to actually have them put a bass on there, or then you get really daring, get a couple of mics and an old acoustic drum kit and have somebody play a drum track to it, and you can keep building this for as much as you want to. So so the other adjustment that I did here that I didn't show you, if you bring your mouse to right about here, there is a little hamburger right there. It does not come up with a bubble. So you have a couple of different views that you can do here. So if I click on here where it says medium, I can go with tiny, and I can go with normal. I am usually using the medium view. That's the one I like the most. Or I can click on this little, it looks like a little hamburger. You can actually adjust it like that, like you saw me do. So you have this adjustment for your view. You have the ability to pull the timeline up and down by clicking on any of the numbers and pull up and down. You also can place the cursor on a point that you want to zoom into and use the zoom bar here. So you have a lot of options. So this should get you going. You should now be at the point where you can lay down a bunch of tracks and prepare yourself for the next lesson. Very, very cool. So next we're going to look at instrument tracks. So I will see you all in the next video.